Welcome to another episode of VNture Podcast, your weekly source of visual novel goodness. I am Emar, and together with Tauros, we shall venture into another discussion about VNs. Today we have a pleasure to talk with a fellow VN reader with big love for the medium, and even bigger love for romance. Welcome to the podcast, Therustyfountain.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For anyone who's not familiar with you, why don't you give yourself a little self-introduction?
Yeah, sure thing. So, like they said, my name is Therustyfountain. I've been doing YouTube off and on for a couple years now. First started out just trying to do some random, video game uploads, and but I wasn't super happy with the videos I was making, and eventually, after discovering visual novels and watching lots of anime, I decided, I'm gonna do more, content on those mediums. And so now, today, I make videos where I take topics on visual novels, anime, video games, whatever it may be I decide to do it on, and I make videos on that.
Very cool, very cool. I wanted to ask, how did you get into visual novels? You just mentioned your channel had a variety of other things. So, when did you get into VNs? What really got you into the medium?
Yeah, so when it comes to like romance specifically, I've been into it for a while now. My second favorite anime I ever watched was Clannad, right? Which I believe also has a visual novel that I haven't read. But one day I was actually watching a YouTuber that I used to watch. I don't really watch him too much anymore, but his name is Lost Pause. And he was actually doing a playthrough of Nekopara. And that is actually what got me into visual novels. I saw him play one. I saw him do a full playthrough of the first volume of Nekopara. And then I decided to go and check it out for myself. And the rest is history.
Oh, did you follow up later by playing Nekopara yourself?
I did, yeah. So I actually went and I bought the first volume of it. Now, it ended up not being the first visual novel I played. When I first discovered them, I didn't have them, I was a little bit broke, so I didn't have the money to buy a visual novel at the time. So instead, what I did is actually when I found a couple of free ones that I downloaded, and tried playing those, but then eventually went back and I bought Nekopara and I played it for myself. I played the first two volumes of it, but I haven't gone past that yet.
And this is a very unique opportunity for us to ask, how was the difference of seeing someone else playing VNs and you experiencing that through Let's Play compared to you having the control and reading for yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the difference. I mean, that is a good question. I definitely enjoy it more playing them for myself than I did through Let's Plays. I honestly don't really watch Let's Plays of visual novels too much anymore, just because I did find that I enjoyed them more myself. I like that I can go at my own pace. I also don't have to sit there and just hope that they choose the route that I would want to go for. Because obviously when they start doing a Let's Play, they're starting from the beginning, the common route. So, if you start watching it, you have to hope that they go for a route that you would want to see, versus you getting to, one of the positives of visual novels is in a lot of them, they have different routes that you can choose. You can choose which one to go through. You can go through one, you go through all of them, whatever you want. So I'd say that's one of the big differences, is that you don't have to rely on somebody else to hope that they choose the route that you want to see.
Nice. Okay. That is actually quite interesting, that the aspect of, even in such a media as VNs, the aspect of having control of choices is so fundamentally changes the experience itself, right? Even if the text and the characters don't really change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, one thing I will say that's like a positive of watching it through a Let's Play is that you can get some like the humor and stuff that specific Let's Player has. But in terms of, the overall enjoyment of the visual novel, it definitely having the control over, how it happens, the pace of how it happens and stuff definitely makes the experience better for sure.
Yeah, but do you agree, especially in the example of Lost Pause, that the nuance and the atmosphere on the VN can be lost if the Let's Player's character is that overpowering with his humor, for example, that you mentioned?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Because like for example, with Lost Pause, like he's a funny guy, right? But he inserts himself into by doing the Let's Play. He voices, every line that the protagonist has, and therefore it kind of almost turns the protagonist into him in a way. So it
Yeah.
completely changes the whole vibe and atmosphere of the visual novel by experiencing it that way.
Oh, this is actually very important because this raises two questions. And I'll start with the protagonist question, okay?
Okay.
Because you experienced that through the lenses of Let's Player, so he assumes the role of the blank slate protagonist. If there's a blank slate protagonist, then the Let's Player tries to fit in, immerse himself into it. So for you, the viewer,
Yes.
you don't really have a place to immerse yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I suppose when you
Exactly,
had
and
control, now you have the opportunity to immerse yourself.
yeah, it is more immersive because let's be honest. That's part of the reason why they don't voice them in the first place is so that you can kind of insert yourself as the protagonist in a way. Sometimes they can do it too much, and make them too what's the right word for it? They can take away all the personality, sometimes they do it too much, but in general, you want them to kind of do that a little bit so that you can insert yourself and kind of experience it in a way, kind of as if you were in the story yourself. So yeah, it definitely kind of takes that away if it kind of takes your place in the visual novel away from you if you experience it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, when it comes to protagonists, a follow-up question would be, from your perspective and your experience with VNs, do you prefer those that have the blank slatedness, in which you could self-insert, or maybe the established one, with a past, with a character, with their own personality? Which do you lean more towards?
So I've found, because I've played through both types, and I definitely have found that I actually prefer to have a more unique protagonist, a more I actually kind of prefer it if I can't just like self-insert myself in as a protagonist. It's more enjoyable to see the different interactions between the characters too, if the character that you are playing as has a lot of personality and is very, very, unique. So I definitely enjoy it more if they I enjoy more when they give them a unique personality than when they give them a blank slate.
Okay, I'll never get to the second question I prepared. But have you you haven't continued with the series? You said you ended on the second. Would you say it's because of the protagonist and how he was blank slated, not really to your taste, or was it something else?
Don't put words in his mouth, man. Let him explain.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
No, it's I would say it's part of it. I mean, I do think that is part of it. I do think that I would have liked a little bit more from that. I don't know. It's tough to say because I did enjoy Negoparo, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say I disliked it. I'm also not gonna sit here and say it's one of my favorites.
Okay.
I think it's a good, solid one that somebody newer into the genre can get into because it's not. I don't know. It's tough to really kind of describe. I mean, it's like, it's not that, because I mean, I would go play the third and fourth one. In fact, I think I saw that they're on sale, so I would go and even play, pick them up now and play them. I think it's more so, it's just that, they were good, but they weren't great. And that at the end of the day was the reason why I kind of moved on to some other ones.
Okay.
But I do think, I do think the protagonist being a little bit too blank slatey for my taste might have played into that a little bit.
So to put a pin on this topic, from the third installment, and mostly in the fourth, they tried to inject the main guy with a personality quite a lot. And, in my opinion, successfully so. Would that make you more open to continue the series?
That would make me a little more open to see it. Yes, it would. I'm. If that's the case, I might have to go and read on further.
Uh-huh. Now, going back to the two initial questions I had in regards to you watching the Let's Play against you experiencing the VN for yourself, did that change you when it comes to analyzing themes within it? Because from my experience, limited with when it comes to Let's Plays of VNs, I feel like it can either hamper or help analyze deeper themes in a VN. And I'm not claiming Necopar is the deepest one in it, but did you stop and analyzed? Or maybe did you just follow the flow on your own?
So I think I actually agree with you that it can help and hinder at the same exact time in terms of analyzing one. I haven't watched a Let's Play of any of the ones that I have made videos on or plan to make videos on. I think part of it is because when you watch a Let's Play, you're watching somebody else experience it through their, experience it for themselves, right? But obviously with these Let's Players, with YouTubers, I mean, it's good practice to, when you think something about it, to say it, right? You want to keep people, entertained, keep them watching. Like, you're supposed to talk about these things that you see, right? So anything that they notice is going to be brought to your attention, and therefore anything that they don't notice you might not see because you're so focused on them playing it. But also at the same time, they may analyze it differently than you would have if you would just watch it on your own. But having somebody else explain it or somebody else talk about it kind of changes your opinion, your viewpoint on it a little bit, even if you don't mean for it to. So I definitely think that it, in terms of if you're one to like analyze one, like if for me, obviously, I play them because I enjoy them. But if I see one that I find a topic about and I want to analyze that, then I do. It would hinder me in making that type of video if I watch somebody else kind of do it and give their opinion and maybe possibly force their opinion onto me on accident,
Yeah. Now, you breached subtly another topic because you mentioned a video. You are a YouTuber. So I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
What makes you inspired to make a video? Do you approach a medium, be it anime or VN, with intention of making a video? Or rather, when you experience the anime or VN, there comes a moment that says, wait a moment, I want to make a video now.
It's more so the second one, right? Because I enjoy anime, visual novels, video game stuff like that, regardless of whether or not I want to make videos on them. Well, obviously, but a big thing is like I will become inspired in the moment about it. Okay, for example, my most recent video as of right now, is about that anime, The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, right? Well, in that one, I went in that just looking for another good romance anime. But after watching the first few episodes, I said, hang on, there's something different about this one. Like, I was like, hold on, there's something here. And then by the end of it, I just was like, yeah, I've got to talk about this because it truly, like, it inspired me to make a video. So while sometimes I have watched content because I'm looking for a topic to make, I never watch a specific thing to make a video on that specific thing. But I do look for inspiration sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like that whimsical, let's call it whimsical nature of making videos can lead to a cascading problem of promising videos? For example, you made a really cool video about making lovers, right? And you said You said, I don't want to dwell on those characters. Surely I'll make a video about each and every one of them. And that was said, when was that? Year ago?
Or more longer, probably.
Or longer?
Year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
I will say that is a big problem that I have, is that I also will get inspiration in the moment. And if I don't work on that when I have the inspiration, I tend to add it. I have a note in my phone with a list of all the videos that I've been, quote unquote, inspired to make, right? And that video, or that list of potential videos, the ones that I've checked off is probably a 30th of the length of the actual list.
I see.
It's definitely a problem to where if I don't at the very least write the whole script when I'm so inspired, I find that I struggle to ever come back to it. It's definitely a problem. It's not, I will say this, it's not conducive to being a good YouTuber. It's actually, if you watch the end of my last few videos, almost all of them I'm apologizing for how long it's been since my last one, or for something or another, and that does play into it a little bit, is that I need to be stricter on myself on being like, okay, I have the inspiration now, so I need to write it now. That is definitely a problem.
Then allow me to say that quality beats quantity. I, for one, appreciate your videos. And every time I watch one of those, and I'm thinking to myself, holy hell, he makes a good point. Then you mention, later I'll make a video about it. I'm like, okay, where's the... And there's no video. I feel betrayed.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it about the quality, yeah. But you need to have, there needs to be at least a quantity. And I am lacking in, and two videos every 4 months is not, that's not enough. That is not enough, unfortunately.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that you pick up the pace. I'm looking forward to any future videos. Especially the ones you promised, okay?
Thank you. Yes, I will try and own up to those promises. After the video I'm working on now, which I'm gonna make myself record tonight. After I work on that one, I'll look at those videos that I've promised in the past and see if there's one, and see which one I want to work on, because I do need to make good on those promises.
A while ago you mentioned about the Let's Players, how they have their own choices they make, and you kind of have to hope they go on to the route you want. Does that mean you're mostly familiar with like Mareeck and branching route VNs? Is that sort of your favorite genre?
It kind of has become my favorite genre, not on purpose, but it's just I have noticed that it's kind of what I gravitate towards a little bit. I want to experience other types of visual novels, but it's just that whenever I look for a new one, I always end up running into a Mareeck that interests me, and then I end up getting that one and playing it. And then next thing you know, my library is 95% not Mareeck, and 75% of them are have been touched by Smee, Ubisoft, or Neko Nyan or something, and then all of a sudden now that's basically the only genre that I've read for the most part.
Hey, there you go. Nothing wrong as long as you enjoy it, right?
Exactly. Nothing wrong with
facts, exactly.
Yeah. Especially since I think there's even Mareeck you can find deeper meaning, right? Let's take the example of Nekopar, right? Because we both know that title. Would you agree with me that you could say, Nekopar is about having cafe with cute cat girls, right? Can you agree with that statement?
Yeah,
but that's not how I view. That's not how I describe Volume 1. What I describe Volume 1 is a theme. You cannot outrun the bonds you created with important people with your life, with ambition. And that's the core premise. and that's exactly what they explore.
It is, yes.
To be
Isn't
fair,
that way more deeper?
To be fair, you can have a core premise, and you also can't have most of it be cat-girl mates.
Fair, I agree with that.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be like surface level. Oh my god, right? It can have
Exactly, yeah.
deeper.
You get some really deep, really deep and really incredible stories in some of these moege.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, like Senran Banka, you get some really deep stories in that one, for example, or like, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of it's like you said, just because there's, on the surface level, looks like, oh, look, cute girls, you can date them kind of thing, doesn't mean that there isn't some sort of deeper meaning behind it as well. And that's what I like to explore in videos that I make, is that there is either a deeper, whether it's a deeper meaning or it's, a lesson to be learned or something like that. I love it when I see those types of things in moege.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like the biggest criticism that is directed to moege stems from the from the people who either don't notice those themes or those themes don't resonate with them. Right? And then
I would agree
that
with
is
that.
left is the surface level. And then you are I'm disappointed kind of deal. Oh, and on the topic of VNs, because you mentioned some animes on VNs, and your biggest criticism, especially when dealing with romance animes, was that it oftentimes ended with a sense of ambiguity. You never truly know what happens if they end up together. Do you feel like VNs, especially the moeges that we discuss, the focus on romance ones, the fact that they are aiming at the romance itself and they portray it, both them being together, for example, even for a brief moment, does that make it more appealing to you? Is that why you tend to gravitate towards VNs?
It really is, because I've been watching romance anime for a lot longer than I've been playing VNs, right? The first romance anime I ever watched was Clannad. In Clannad, you get a conclusion to everything. I don't know if y'all have watched Clannad or not, but you get a conclusion to everything. Like the whole story, you get all of it, right? And that was the first one I ever saw. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. You get to see the full story, the full, character development, and get to see, how it concludes. But then, after watching a couple other romance anime, I started to notice a theme to where, other than a select few, most of them are, leaving you with kind of in the dark on what happens by the end. I mean, there's been a couple of them where like sometimes you end up almost exactly where you started. And I started to get kind of frustrated with that, and it's like, that's one what really frustrates me is like, there was one, I'd have to think of the name, but I'll keep it brief since I don't remember it, where the girl like gets amnesia every single day. So, and then, long story short, he made progress with her and she started to remember him. And at the very end, she loses all the progress and she doesn't remember him anymore. And you start right in the exact same spot as they were at the beginning, right? And that is so frustrating when you are watching it for the romance. It's so frustrating when you don't get a conclusion to the romance. Now, if romance is a subplot, then that's fine, right? Like if you're watching an action adventure, something story like that, right? And romance is a subplot, and then you get a conclusion to the main story of like the action adventure, but you don't know if they end up together. I can handle that because it's a subplot. At the end of the day, that's not what they're making a story about, right? It's just a little bonus on the side. But when you're watching a romance anime, a romance one, I want to see the conclusion to that romance. And that's where, like you said, that's where visual novels kind of, where I really gravitated to them, is that the entire focus is on you seeing them, from most of the time meeting each other for the first time. I mean, there's obviously the childhood friends, routes and the dreaded little sister routes where they already knew them already. But for the most part, a lot of them, they're meeting for the first time and you see them meet and they get closer and then you get to see a conclusion to the romance that you want to see. And that is a big draw for me to visual novels.
I feel like in that video that you made about the new favorite romance anime, right? You carry a lot of good points on that. What you just say, they show the romance itself. It's a central point. You see how they end up as, and you also struck one big criticism, especially to anime, in which adding more characters often detracts from the development for those two
Yes.
people who are in romance, right? How do you feel
Yes.
that relates to VNs? Because they tend to have a lot of characters. How do you cope with that?
Yes. So in relation to that, so I 100% think that you can, for the most part. Now, there are ways that it's been done right, and I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But I do think for the most part, adding characters later on just for the sake of adding them and creating genre is a bad thing for the most part, right? It takes away from the relationship. It takes away from especially if they join and one of the main characters is still drawn to them, it takes away from what they've gone through with the other character, right? The other main interest. When it comes to visual novels, I think it's okay in the common route, right? Because you're still choosing, you're still deciding, you're still trying to figure out who you want to go for in the first place. So at that point, it's okay to kind of, even if you've kind of leaned towards one, or even if let's say it's because there's visual novels, plenty of them, where like there may be a unspoken or sometimes spoken main love interest, right? Well, especially in those where there is kind of one that's kind of more focused on, if you don't have those other characters kind of insert themselves on purpose, nobody would ever choose them, right? But what I hate is when they continue to do so after you've kind of chosen a route. The worst possible example of this, in terms of like somebody just completely, or characters completely inserting themselves no matter what route you choose, is Mari and Renai Royale, where after you choose somebody, it doesn't matter who you choose, she constantly tries to insert herself. She tries to, sleep next to you every night, even after you've chosen somebody. Even after you tell her that you literally are engaged to one of the girls, she still tries to get you. That takes away from it, and that kind of also takes away from the experience of it, where you're trying to experience this romance with this character that you selected, and they're still shoving this other character down your throat. At that point, I think it detracts from visual novels. But again, like I said, in common routes, a lot of times it's almost necessary to give some of the side characters the necessary screen time to make you interested in choosing them.
Okay,
of course, it's like one of those very annoying pet peeves in a multi-route moege, where once you get onto one heroine's route, all the other characters just go poof and they disappear. And it's like, especially for a title where its strength was in the group dynamics, you want to see all those fun interactions. You want to see the happy, school days or whatever. And then for them to just all get wiped, or in this case, you get one character who is very detrimental to the route, where she keeps trying to break up the couple. It's like, what the heck? I didn't want this at all.
Exactly. Yeah, and I agree with you on that too, where you don't want them to try and go for the protagonist, but you don't want them to disappear. You don't want them to vanish. They're still great characters, and they still influence the story, and you don't want them to go away. You just, want them to respect whatever decision you've made. So yeah.
I think you brought out the example of Renai Royale that had more or less the spoken or unspoken rule of having the main character, right? Main heroine. How would you relate that experience to the experience of Grisaya, where the main heroine isn't really established and they all more or less are in the contest for the throne, let's say?
So, I like the way Grisaya does it better, because it gives you more. I don't want to say freedom to choose, because you have every freedom to choose who you want to go for.
Yeah.
But it gives you more like freedom to choose when it comes to the story, right? Because, like you said, in Grisaya, like the story, you still get the story regardless of who you go for, and it's not really decided, for you. You're like, they don't try and shove one down your throat more so than the others. Whereas in like Renai Royale, it's like, oh, Mari, here's a little glimpse of this character. Mari, here's a glimpse of this character. Mari, oh, you chose this other character? Well, guess what? Mari is going to be shoved down your throat still. And it's like, especially for somebody like me who actually can't stand her, it completely takes away from, it takes away a lot from the experience of it. I like it better when you can still get the same level, the same enjoyment out of it, regardless of who you go for.
I'm going to say something very blasphemous to you. Imagine a devil's advocate argument. If you were to actually like Mari, would that not make a better experience that she's more present in another route?
So I would say if you do love her, I think you would like. That is a great question. I think that, I'm going to insert myself into the shoes of somebody who loves Mari. I still think they overdid it. I think if I liked her, I would like it because obviously I like her, right? Like if, for example, if Yuna, my favorite character in there, was in the other routes, a lot, or more than she is, I would like it. But it would still be frustrating if I chose Rena for Yuna to constantly try to pull you away, or if you choose, any of the other characters, like if she's constantly trying to pull you away and like literally crawling into your bed when you sleep and stuff like that, it would still be frustrating because, again, I didn't choose you this time. You're still a character in the story, but you need to long story short, respect the decision that was made there, because it takes away from it. Also, that one, I could talk all day about that one. I won't, but it also frustrates me that the main character isn't more assertive about getting rid of her, in that one, specifically. Like I feel like he could have done more to like force her away rather than just ignoring her, be like, no, I've chosen somebody, get away. But regardless, no, I still think that they overdid it a little bit in that one.
All right. We'll have to wrap things up soon, so this will be the last question, and we'll make it a good one. What is your favorite heroine archetype? Like favorite
heroine
tsunderes, or you got something for like Moto's sort of character?
No, bad.
Childhood
Emoto
friend.
bad.
Okay.
Emoto equal bad. No, I am a proud member of the tsundere gang. I love tsunderes. I mean, if you look at like my favorite, if you look at like my favorite waifus, for example, even in like an anime, like there's a lot of different like tsunderes in there. Like I like that dynamic of, now obviously they overdo it a lot of times. No real girl who acts in that way is going to straight up punch you because you said you liked her shoes or something, right? But I do like the gimmicks, and I do like the dynamic of I do like the dynamic of a character who's kind of standoffish at first, kind of warms up to you in the end. And I'm a big fan, and now I know they don't necessarily take this route, but in real life it would kind of take on more the way of where like you kind of make playful jabs at each other, rather than punching each other in the face and knocking them out or whatever they do in a lot of them. But yeah, long story short, tsunderes is definitely my favorite for sure.
Nice. On that note, we'll have to wrap up the episode. Thank you very much, Therustyfountain, for being a guest on our podcast. It was a blast, and I hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Rusty. For all our listeners, please check him out. He has amazing content in regards to romance anime. And with that, thank you very much for listening, and venture out.
Venture out.